Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tom Brady reportedly retired. Tony, have you ever thought about retiring?
Tony Kornheiser, not in at least 6 minutes.
Oh, 6
Maybe
minutes.
8 minutes ago,
Okay.
but not 6 minutes ago or
Okay.
5 minutes ago.
All right.
You know, but maybe halfway through the show. That's a real possibility. Halfway
You know,
through.
many times
Welcome
you
to
have talked
PTI,
about
boys and
retiring.
girls.
To me, my God.
In today's episode, the Rams beat the Niners. Tom Brady, as we said, apparently retires, and Rafa Nadal is the first to 21. But we begin today with the more surprising result from yesterday's two great games. The Bengals beating the Chiefs in overtime in Kansas City. The Chiefs had won 11 of their last 12 games, including 8 in a row at home. Plus, the Chiefs were up 21-3 yesterday. So, Wilbon, should we celebrate the Bengals or crush the Chiefs?
Tony, already, even though it's been fewer than 24 hours, I've been engaged, particularly in my own text chats with crushing the Chiefs. So I'm going to move on. I'm tired of that already. And by the way, I think it's kind of overstated. Let's give some credit to the Bengals. A lot of credit to the Bengals. We can keep looking back at what Mahomes didn't do, what Andy Reid didn't do. No, the Bengals were down 21-3. You and I are And the Cincinnati Bengals, Tony, they're fun to watch. They're even fun to root for. And I wasn't rooting for them particularly, but they're exciting. They're daring. They got talented players who seem to have guts. I'm tired of the word resilient because it doesn't even apply in this situation. They got after another team and got in them and didn't fear them, even though they were on the road. I thought it was a great win. I want to praise the Cincinnati Bengals.
This makes me so happy because 3 weeks ago you sat in that chair and you said Cincinnati's the stupidest team in the NFL and there's no way they'll ever win a playoff game. So your turnaround,
stupid, right. Yes, all those things. Yes, all of them.
So your turnaround makes me happy. I'm going to tell people a story about you and me. It's 21-3 yesterday and I get on the phone and I call you. God forbid you should take my call. So I just leave the following message. I go, look, Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time, and for one regular season game, I would probably take Aaron Rodgers. But Patrick Mahomes is the best, Mike. He's the best football player in the world. He's the best. And I say, the final score is going to probably be something like 40-15. And then, the second half happened.
Yeah, started with
and I need to know something, Mike.
Yeah.
I need to know who that guy was in the second half. Was he hurt? Did something happen? Because the change in Patrick Mahomes was remarkable. He starts out, Mike, 17 of 19 and 3 touchdown passes. His next 20 or 9 out of 20 with 2 picks. He has the first 3 drives, he produces 3 touchdowns. The next 8 produced just 3 points. I don't know what happened there. I don't know what happened.
If you listen to people who play the game, and they talk about adjustments, they identify, all of them identify the same adjustment definitively. That Cincinnati changed his defense and said, okay, instead of trying to rush you and going past you, we're going to rush 3 people, and we are going to cover people until the cows come home, and you won't be able to find them. And therefore, Tony, it sounds right, because he's back there patting it, and he can't find anybody.
Let me ask you a question. Then where is the adjustment by the offensive coordinator and the head coach? Where are those adjustments when this happens? There's 2 things stood out to me in that game, Mike, 2. One, Joe Burrow made 2 plays with his feet in the second half, avoiding sacks, got first downs, and you know I love Burrow. And the second thing was the arrogance of the Kansas City Chiefs at the end of the first half to not take the field goal, to not go up 24-10, to run this bad play that had no chance with 5 seconds to go. That arrogance cost them.
You mean like the arrogance when you win 1 Super Bowl? You mean like that?
The dynasty of 1.
You mean like the dynasty of 1? I can dine out on that for another year. And by the way, I don't even root against Kansas City. I mean, I like them. I'm really making fun. I'm mocking all the clowns who had this being a dynasty after 1 Super Bowl. Dynasty of 1. Let's move to the NFC Championship game where the Rams snuck by the Niners. Matthew Stafford shook off years of lionness to lead LA to 3 fourth-quarter scoring drives, but he also threw a balloon ball that Niners safety Jaquiski Tartt said and thought, quote, oh yeah, he bleeped up. We're about to win this game. I don't know how I dropped it, close quote. Tartt blamed himself, Tony. Is it as simple as that to you?
It's probably the easiest interception in recorded history.
Probably.
And he dropped the ball. Would it change everything? I don't know about that. Because then you hand the ball back to Jimmy Garoppolo, and I don't know that that necessarily changes the narrative of the game. I'm pretty sure about this. I'm pretty sure that had that pass been intercepted, Matthew Stafford looks at himself and goes, what did I do? And maybe the ghosts of all those bad games with the Lions come back to haunt them. But I don't know. It's still a 3-point game. It's a close game. Are the 49ers going to score there? I don't know that. They're on their own 35-yard line. I don't know that they're going to go down the field and score there. Here's what I know. Odell Beckham Jr. and Cooper Kupp, they had 20 catches for 255 yards and 2 touchdowns, and the Niners don't have anybody quite like them. I know that.
Tony, the Niners have the best player of those 3. And he was sitting on the bench sobbing after the game.
Didn't use him.
I know if I was drafting in the playground and I had a choice of those 3 guys, all right, I'm taking the guy who can throw it into the end zone, run it into the end zone, or catch it in the end zone. But
didn't use him.
I agree. Well, Tony, they only had like 8 snaps, late in that game or in that second half of the fourth quarter. They didn't have that many snaps to get him the ball.
And a half, Mike.
Tony, they're double teaming him, and they don't have the ball, and you can't trust his quarterback to get him the damn ball anyway. So let's not get crazy with blame here. Tony, it's not as simple as that, because I agree with you down the line about what has to happen and time remaining in a close game after you drop the pick. But man, we've seen a lot of games like that swing, right? And they swing with momentum, and that seems to be one of those plays, Tone, that didn't happen. But you listen, their quarterback, you couldn't trust him. Once they had possession, they were going to be running the ball anyway. And if the Rams line up to stop the run, I don't know that the Niners could have scored even then.
So we're sitting here on Friday, and I say to you on Friday, and I remember what I said. I said, if I were a betting man, I would take San Francisco in 3.5, but I would pick the Rams. And you said, we're not DraftKings. Well, I believe I had that. The Rams are not a juggernaut. They beat people very, very closely. But if you let Stafford have enough time and he doesn't throw a soul-crushing pick, and he has numbers like 31 out of 45 for 337.
Great numbers.
They got a chance.
And a pick.
And by the way, they're in it. They're in the Super Bowl, which one of us had in March. We turn now to Tom Brady, who we think is retiring. He is reported to be retiring, and yet he is also reported to have not completely decided on retiring. Wilbon, are you convinced Brady is retiring?
No, I don't care that much. I mean, Tom Brady's a fixture. He's a fixture in the life of an old person like me. Tom Brady playing quarterback for a third of my life. And so he's around. If he's around come August, I'll say, oh, well, there's Tom Brady. He's back where he's always been. If he's not there, it's time because he's almost 50 years old. So this story is not going to consume me. I'm sure it's consuming a lot of people like you. And Tony, he's the greatest ever doing what he passed all my greatest. My greatest were Joe Montana and John Elway. Those were my great. He passed them. He waved to them. Okay, so to me, this is like he's at a point in his life where he ought to retire and do what he wants to do with the rest of it.
Yeah, well, what I thought he always wanted to do was play football forever and ever and ever. So I will say this. If he's not retired, there's an easy fix. You go out there and you say the following thing, or you type it somewhere where people can read it. I'll be with Tampa Bay next year. I'm Tampa Tom. I'll see you next year. We haven't heard anything like that. And we've seen, as a matter of fact, his former teammates say on this network he's retired. So I'm going to assume he's retired. And it is a stunner for me, Mike, because this year at 44 years old, he completed passes for more yards and more touchdowns than anybody in football, which is unbelievable at 44 years old. The last time we saw him, he took his team from down 27-3 to where they should have been in overtime if anybody covered Cooper Kupp. Okay? That's what we saw. He did his job. There's nothing to indicate to people like me that he should retire. So, Mike, if he does retire, you know what I'm thinking? Maybe he's hurt. Maybe those third down sacks in the playoffs got to him. Maybe he thought, I better get out now.
Maybe he's just had enough.
He's never had enough before. Never.
Before. So in other
Why
words,
now?
to satisfy you, he's supposed to play at least 75. Let me just say this.
No,
who had a
not
better
for me,
ending?
because he's the greatest team
Who
athlete ever.
had
He's
a
it.
better ending? Elway or Tom? Better ending.
Well, Elway won on the way out.
Thank you.
So it has to be Elway.
Yes, it
but we'll
does.
get to that at
Yes,
some
it
point in
does.
this show, I believe. Let's take a break. But coming up, the Raiders hired Josh McDaniels.
Woo.
Should we expect a big difference
Woo.
from when he coached the Broncos?
Yeah, go ahead, 12. Why don't you go out there? Why don't you go out and play for him? And does Rafael Nadal's Aussie Open title diminish without his main rivals even being there? Maybe the desert is someplace.
Tom Brady's the
great
greatest team
cheesehead
sport
would wanna
athlete
go.
ever. It's mail time. You put in the effort to ask us questions when you could just Google, come to your own conclusions.
Mail
But
time?
first,
Just
let's get
ask
it.
Siri.
Are you convinced that Josh McDaniels will be a better head coach with the Raiders than he was with the Broncos?
No. Why would I? Why should I be? What's he done? He's been a great assistant coach. There's some guys, there's a list of guys, Tony, we know a lot of them, who have been great assistant coaches. They have helped the guy in the big office win the Super Bowl, right? I mean, there are assistant coaches like that. You know, in this town, you and I got to cover 4 Washington football Super Bowl trips, and Richie Pettibone, who nobody even knows right now. I mean, Joe Gibbs wouldn't have been sitting in the Hall of Fame perhaps with that yellow jacket without the assistant coach, but he was a failure as a head coach. This is the way that often works. So to Josh McDaniel, no, there's no reason to think that. He may do it, but there's no reason to anticipate it.
Yeah, I'm going to name another one too. Joe Bugle, a great assistant coach.
Yes.
Not a great head coach. No, I don't have any particular confidence in McDaniels doing it. I think it's a lovely irony that he's going back to the same division where he was before, but now he gets Mahomes and he gets Justin Herbert, and for all we know, he gets Aaron Rodgers. Let's look at the people who Bill Belichick sent out of New England to be head coaches. Crennel, Weiss, Mangini, Flores, Bill O'Brien, Patricia, Joe Judge. Any of them great? Any of them coaching right now?
No.
So no.
One is
when
looking
this
for a
guy
job.
turned down Indianapolis, didn't even know that he was going to get another job at some point. So I don't have any particular confidence. I wish him well, but I don't know.
Next letter.
Do you discount the Aussie Open win by Rafael Nadal because it came without Roger Federer or Novak Djokovic in the field?
Well, no, because they're all going to come without Federer. I mean, Federer is a whisper. I mean, it's done. Roger's going to be 41 sometime this summer. I think, no, it's done.
He's done.
So now we're talking about Nadal, who Tony looked. I mean, that match yesterday, and you know this because you watched it. That was unbelievable. It was the word epic is used too often, but this was epic. But no, you can't say that Joker is gonna win and play in everything because there are injuries. I mean, people miss time. So no, there's no asterisk, if you will, behind this victory for Rafa Nadal. I don't think you think that either, do you?
I'm going to go further. I'm going to say it's his greatest win ever. He's down 2-love. He hasn't come back from 2-love since 2007. He's down to a guy 10 years younger and seeded higher. He's down to a guy whose best surface is hard court, and it is not Nadal's best surface. All right, what Nadal did, he now gets to 21. Nobody's at 21 but him. He's alone in the box at 21. And now Djokovic needs 2 to pass him. And now Nadal has 2 at the Aussie, 2 at Wimbledon, 2 at the U.S. Open. So he repeated. You can't say it was fluky. And now he gets to go back to France where he's got 13. And he's so easy to root for. Honestly, Mike, I was totally captivated by that.
Yeah.
And I think it's his greatest win ever at his age.
Tony,
I do.
Tony,
I do.
I was excited about this yesterday like you, but Tone, probably Joker's going to wind up with 24 or 25. Now, look, Nadal may get there too. They may duel at 24. Right. You know what I'm saying? But it's not. This is not over. It's not over.
I like Nadal's chances to get to 22 at the clay better than Djokovic's by a little bit. Enough email. Let's take one last break, but still to come. Did the U.S. men really dominate Canada, as I read?
And do the Sixers have any shot of beating Ja and the Grizzlies with Joel Embiid resting tonight? Are you serious? Joel Embiid is not going to play? I mean, right now, he's the favorite to win the MVP. Right now,
Every
Joel
time
Embiid.
I attack him, you tell me to shut up.
Yeah, well,
now
you shut up. Now I'm
pass.
attacking him. I'm not attacking him.
Happy time, people. Happy 75th birthday, Nolan Ryan. Out of tiny Alvin, Texas, Ryan became the all-time strikeout leader and the career leader in no-hitters with 7. Ryan came up with the Mets and was on their 1969 World Championship team. From there, Ryan went to the Angels for 8 years and the hometown Astros for 9. He pitched until he was 46 years old, and he ended up with 324 victories. His prodigious fastball was named Von Ryan's Express after the movie. Ryan isn't the only Hall of Fame baseball player born on January 31st. Indeed, Ernie Banks was born on this day 91 years ago, and Jackie Robinson was born on this day 103 years ago.
Wow, it's hard to get a birthday with bigger, more important names than those 3, Tony. By the way, Ryan, older than Tom Brady, doing his thing. Still blowing away youngsters when he left,
That's right.
Was he not? I know how much
46,
you loved
yes.
Ryan. I know you loved him.
Do, love him. You see his picture behind me. Happy anniversary, John Elway. On this day 23 years ago, Elway played his last football game, leading the Denver Broncos to their 2nd straight Super Bowl championship, beating the Falcons 34-19. Elway was named Super Bowl MVP and retired afterwards. Elway, who is Wilbon's favorite football player, is the only player ever to retire after being named MVP of the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning and Jerome Bettis retired after winning Super Bowls, but they weren't MVPs that year. Elway walked away perfectly. Of course, we don't know if Elway now thinks he walked away early or if Tom Brady will think he walked away a year too late.
Tom Brady's the GOAT. I'm not going to begin to argue against that. But let's see Tom Brady win some Super Bowls with the amount of talent that John Elway had. Those first 3 Super Bowls, John Elway had John Elway. Tom Brady never played on a team without talent like Elway did without talent. That's my opinion.
Yeah, but not with great talent like some other guys have had. I mean, you're partially right on that.